Hey girls, today we are going to be looking at imperialism. Um, so imperialism is caused by nationalism, economic competition, and missionary spirit. So before we take a look at imperialism, we have to define nationalism. So nationalism is extreme pride for one's country. Um, so nationalism is the belief that people should be loyal to their nation rather than to an empire, um, to the people with whom they share a culture and history. So, when we're looking at things like nation states, okay, there are a couple different factors that contribute to a nation state. These would be culture, history, language, territory, nationality, and religion. Um, Culture is a shared way of life. This is how people dress, what they eat, and their behavior and ideals. History, like a common past, common experiences. Language is a major role. Territory, right? A certain territory that belongs to an ethnic group is its land. Nationality is the belief in common ethnic ancestry that may or may not be true, and religion. Okay, so there are positives and negatives of nationalism. Um, it's not always been a positive influence. For example, when a country is extremely nationalistic, it can turn a group against outsiders. You know, Xenophobia, the fear, hatred of immigrants or new people. Um, so below in this chart, we're going to see positive and negative results of nationalism. A positive result would be people within a nation overcoming their differences for the common good. The overthrow of colonial rule, self rule, democratic governments in nations throughout the world, and competition among nations, spurring scientific and technological advances. These are positive results of nationalism. However, we do see negative results as well. Um, so, forced assimilation of minority cultures into a nation's majority culture, right? Forcing people to abandon their way of life to adopt yours because it's superior. This is a very negative result of nationalism. Ethnic cleansing, like in Bosnia and Herzegovina in the 1990s, right? And ethnic cleansing, girls, this is a really pretty way to, this is a pretty phrase to sugarcoat genocide, okay? Um, Genocide is a negative result of nationalism. We saw this in Nazi Germany. We saw this in Armenia. We saw this in Rwanda. Okay. Um, we are also going to be looking at the fact that nationalism can cause competition between nations, which leads to warfare. Not only is nationalism, or I'm sorry, not only can nationalism be devastating within a nation state, it can be devastating to the global community as a whole, as it, pins different nations against one another. Um, let's take a look at this map of revolutions of 1848, okay? All of the little explosion images are revolutions. So, hold on. So, there are types of nationalist movements. The type that unify, these are mergers of politically divided but culturally similar lands. And we saw this in 19th century Germany and 19th century Italy. Separation, right? This is where a culturally distinct group resists being added to a state or tries to break away. State building. This is when culturally distinct groups form into a new state by accepting a singular culture. This would be in the U.S., right? The U.S. Emphasizes Westernization. In Italy, in 1815, it was not a unified nation. It was actually divided into three regions. Parts were controlled by Austria and France. Parts were controlled by the Pope. And parts were independent and had their own king. In the 30s, nationalism led to a unification movement as Italians began to see themselves as having a shared history, ancient Rome, the Renaissance, and they also saw themselves as sharing territory and enemies, like the Napoleonic Wars. Um, Mazzini was a radical, and he established the nationalist group Young Italy in 1831 to unify Italy and create a republic. He led a revolution in 1848. This led to a brief Italian republic. However, Italy was not unified. He was overthrown because he was seen as too radical. In 1849, the King of Sardinia is a small country of Italy that is located in the Mediterranean, right near Sicily. In 1849, the King of Sardinia, named Cavour, he was the prime minister, and he wanted to make Sardinia powerful by increasing industry and reducing the Pope's influence and unifying Italy. However, only if Sardinia led the unification movement, right? So his agenda is to gain power. Okay. So as you can see, here's the Mediterranean Sea. Here's Sardinia. It's south of Corsica. So Corsica at this time is owned by France. Sardinia is owned by Italy. Meanwhile, the south of Italy remained isolated, and radical nationalists prepared for a revolution. Giuseppe Garibaldi was a nationalist who joined Young Italy, and he helped in the south independence movements. He wanted to unify Italy under a republic. Okay, again, this map, right? Kingdom of the Two Sicilies. All right, then we have the south of Italy. Okay, so Garibaldi successfully leads the unification movement of the South. However, Cavour was unhappy. He doesn't want a republic. He wants Sardinia's king to be in charge. He tricked Garibaldi into giving up his conquest to Sardinia. Okay, and so Italy's north and south are unified, and they are a new constitutional monarchy, meaning a monarchy is still in place. However, the power of the king and queen are limited by a constitution that grants rights to the people. By 1871, all the French territories are reclaimed and unification is complete. See how it changes? Boom, acquisition. German unification. Realpolitik and the belligerent Bismarck. So Germany was the last European country to unify. After the Congress of Vienna, 39 independent German states merged into the German Confederation. Okay. Prussia badly wanted to unify these 39 states into a new nation called Germany. Otto von Bismarck was a prime minister of Prussia who used realpolitik and realpolitik pursues goals by any means necessary. Go to war, to lie, to break treaties. Germany does not look to Prussia's liberalism, but to her power. The great questions of the day are not to be decided by speeches and majority resolutions, but by blood and iron. Basically saying, let's be violent to get what we want. Okay, to do this, Bismarck led Prussia to war. 7 weeks war against Austria led to the North German Confederation. This was a united northern Germany under Prussia's control. Okay, so check it out. We have West Prussia, East Prussia. Okay. The Franco-Prussian War against France to convince the Catholics in southern Germany that unification with Prussia was better than unification with France. As a result of military victories, Prussia gained support from all the German states for unification. 25 states become united under one union. In 1871, Wilhelm I becomes the Kaiser, or the Emperor. Bismarck becomes the Chancellor, or the Prime Minister. Each state has a local ruler, army, and it handles its own domestic affairs. Kaiser heads the national government. Hey girl, so that's like a little mini lesson on nationalism. Let's look at imperialism. So now that we have a better understanding of nationalism, we can check out imperialism. Play slideshow. Okay? We're seeing that the Industrial Revolution made European nations take over colonies in Africa and Asia. Okay? What is imperialism? Europeans exert influence over the economic, political, and social lives of the people that they colonize. Nationalism causes this economic competition, missionary spirit, right? The demand for new markets spurs a search for colonies. Europeans believe that they must spread their Christian teachings to the world. how does this impact the nations that are colonized? So Europeans control land and people in Africa, in areas of Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Europeans control trade in the colonies, and they set up dependent cash crop economies. And we see Christianization. So from 1850 to 1914, the strong industrialized countries of the world, England, France, Germany, US, they dominated many of the weaker countries of the world, and they controlled all aspects of their lives. So why did industrialized nations imperialized? Right? So let's take a look. Is imperialism even a good idea? Should the United States consider taking new lands? Why do you think so? Right? Do you gain or do you lose when you do this? These are the answers to why the industrial nations of the world imperialized. So each country in Europe wanted to be the most important and powerful nation, and they had a lot of overseas colonies show power. And this turned into an all-out race for the best colonies and the most numerous colonies. So they're trying to be the biggest and the strongest, with the most colonies and the most colonies that impact production. Um, the Industrial Revolution caused a huge demand for more raw materials, so countries could make more factory-produced goods. The Industrial Revolution also caused a high demand for new overseas markets so that they could sell and finish their goods. Christian missionaries wanted to convert the uncivilized natives in the world by setting up churches, schools, and hospitals. And Europeans believed in social Darwinism, that whites are the most superior race. They also believed that the white man's burden, they had a responsibility to civilize the world. There's more than one kind of imperialism, girls. Um, Colony, protectorate, and sphere of influence. We can remember this with the acronym COPS. So, the colony form of imperialism is a country or territory governed internally by a foreign power. Somaliland in East Africa was a French colony. There are such things as protectorate. This is a country or territory with its own internal government, but under the control of an outside power. Britain established a protectorate over the Niger River Delta. And we have a sphere of influence. This is an area in which an outside power claims exclusive investment or trading privileges. This is like, for an example, Liberia was under the sphere of influence of the US. In a colonial form of imperialism, Europeans send governors to directly rule a colony. In a protectorate form of imperialism, local rulers remain in place. However, the European mother country makes all of the real decisions. In the sphere of influence form of imperialism, European countries have exclusive trading rights and territory. Right? The white man's burden, right? So that was back here. Well, you already read it. I know that this was a lot of material all at once, but basically, girls, the purpose of me telling you about nationalism and imperialism is that these are two major factors that contributed to what began or what caused World War I. We will see that one of the major causes, direct immediate causes of World War I was the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand. I have assigned a worksheet for you, and so you can explore more there. Let me just open it up really quick. Where is it? What caused World War I? That's why I pretty much gave you all that information about nationalism and imperialism. What you're going to do now is you're going to read this worksheet and complete it and submit it to me, and this will be your classwork that is due, and this will not be due until Thursday, tomorrow at midnight. Okay. Some of you, I still have to send your paper stuff to, and I apologize for being late on that, but I will get that to you ASAP. Okay, girls, let me know if you have any questions with this worksheet, and enjoy the rest of your day.